Hello and welcome to another Anime Lore and Fury video. I'm Shergog, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at what happened to Arche, Roberdyck, Imina and Hekkeran from Team Foresight, and how their fate differ from the light novels to the web novel. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. After Arche and her teammates from Foresight had the brilliant idea of invading the Great Tomb of Nazarick, and to openly lie about Ainz Ooal Gown's friends right to the Overlord's face, they were of course severely punished, but since the punishments weren't, most of the time at least, explicitly spelled out, many might wonder what became of them, or rather, what they were turned into. But before I dive deeper into all of this, I'd like to establish some general points. Team Foresight, like the other teams involved in the raid on the Great Tomb, was lured in by the false promise of a life-changing amount of gold if they agreed to do the job. Enough gold for Arche, for example, to take her two little sisters and start a new life, far, far away from the selfish and abusive behavior of their irresponsible parents. But again, this was just bait, set by Demiurge to lure them in. However, this raid on the Great Tomb was not a one-time operation, and everyone involved knew that they were engaging in highly illegal activities and that they were risking their lives and that of their teammates. And although this wasn't directly addressed in the anime, it was clear to everyone that the inhabitants of the Great Tomb, this previously unknown ruin from their own point of view, would be eliminated if they dared to resist or take anything from the Great Tomb. And even then, just to make sure that the word isn't going to get out, they might have been killed anyway. And this explicitly included not only orcs, goblin, ogres, and the undead like skeletons or the occasional elder lich, but also any human resistance that they would face. These workers from the various teams didn't leave the official adventurer guild after all, and all of the monster hunting business behind, just to hunt monsters on their own. Rather, they were mercenaries and henchmen of powerful individuals who didn't want to dirty their own hands, and more importantly, the hands of their well-known servants, with illegal and potentially dangerous actions. In other words, if humans had lived in Nazarick who resisted, such as the death-spreading brigade, they would have been eliminated, especially if we consider the likes of Team Tenmu, which consists only really of a single member, a supposed former citizen of the theocracy, Usrud, and he had no moral scruples, as seen in the three enthralled elves he used for his own purposes, no matter how dirty they would be. So all four members entered the Great Tomb with the knowledge that they might have to enter a human life, if necessary, which brings us to the first fate among the four, that of Arche, as an act of mercy because her teammates had shown incredible courage and camaraderie in the face of death personified. Something that Ainz appreciated, as it reminded him of his old friends and how a guild is supposed to be, how a team, how an adventurer should actually act. He therefore allowed Arche to not survive, but quite in contrary, to die, because death is a mercy in Nazarick, because it means that all of the suffering in life, inflicted by Nazarick of course, would end. But not before Sheltier Bloodfallen showed her the true horror that Nazarick holds, or at least a glimpse of it. Arche, who still believed she was under the open sky until she collided with an invisible wall on the 6th floor, was cornered by Sheltier, disarmed, and then, after some licking, the blood-red Valkyrie, the strongest of all of the floor guardians, revealed her grotesque, needle-like teeth and her leech-like mouth. This sight shocked Arche so much that she fainted. Shortly thereafter her life ended, which in a way was a stroke of luck for her, because her two little sisters, for example, their nightmare just started after Arche died, as they were sold off by their own parents to pay off debts accumulated by the lifestyle of an essentially noble that these two ex-nobles could no longer afford without all of their vast privileges and tax exemptions. And in the web novel version, Arche did indeed survive as well, but she was given into the care of Sheltie Bloodfallen. What followed were things more commonly found in certain fan arts and fan fiction. And as you can probably guess, Arche, from that point of view, was in Sheltie's more knightly oriented service, just like her vampire brides essentially. And next we move on to Hekkeran and Imina. Both had feelings for each other and were in the process of building a relationship, something they had already done in the anime. And even though this aspect wasn't heavily highlighted in the story, the two became lovers, bit by bit, who would ultimately stay together through good times and through bad times, until the end of their very lives. And that is exactly what happened to them, but not in the way that they imagined. Both were captured alive by Ainz Ooal Gown personally, and did not receive the mercy of a quick death. Their suffering continued, therefore, as they were handed over to one of the 5 worst, one of the most dangerous, cruel, or just disgusting NPCs in the entire Great Tomb. Gashoku Koshuu, a parasitic life form and the area guardian of the so-called Great Hole. However, the name is a bit misleading, because unlike the residences where this area guardian is located, the bodies of Hekkeran and Imina would be riddled with countless smaller holes, through which he and his parasite kin would enter and essentially inhabit their bodies as a nesting space. And this is a level of body horror on a completely different scale, because even if their bodies could not withstand the parasitic infestation and they would eventually succumb to it, Nezarec has the ability to heal their bodies over and over again before this happens, with healing magic, and showing their suffering continues until their biological end, until old age has finally relieved them. And this is particularly tragic for Imina, as she is a half-elf, and will therefore live significantly longer than Hekkeran termite. And that brings us to Roberdyck, the deeply devout cleric of the group who suffered a terrible fate as well, though not to his body, but to his mind. Roberdyck's brain was slowly manipulated and altered, and put together in a shape to the liking of the Overlord of the Great Tomb of Nezarec, as Ainz Ooal Gown wanted to practice mind control and mind manipulation and alteration with this unwilling guinea pig. In other words, everything that, for example, in 1984 would require propaganda and external influence in real-life scenarios on a truly grotesque and all-encompassing scale, Ainz could achieve far more easy by implanting new memories or altering and removing old ones. And we know this from Volume 11, that Ainz Ooal Gown must have used this method excessively, because even for someone with his enormous mana reserves, mind manipulation and mind reading is extremely taxing, so to gain this confidence in his skills, for this ever cautious Overlord, it would have taken a long time and a lot of practice to actually achieve this. And this experiment also had another purpose. As mentioned, Roberdyck was a devout cleric, someone who found solace in his faith, and Ainz changed him, so that in the end, he worships just a stone, just a random stone, as his deity, just to see what happens to the rock and to him. And while in volumes 7 to 11, Roberdyck's mind was altered and consumed and changed In the web novel, Roberdyck's body was the piece of him to take the full brunt of Nezeric's wrath, as it was used as a food source for the many NPCs of the Great Tomb of Nezeric. His limbs were hastily devoured over and over again, and his body was sealed repeatedly. In other words, Roberdyck suffered a fate similar to the Titan Prometheus, although consistently, without any relief, any break. Again and again he was devoured, healed and devoured, without any break, for the rest of his miserable life. And although this all sounds extremely dark, there's at least a possibility for the 3 remaining members of Team Foresight to somehow escape their situation, to be released or healed if Ainz Ooal Gown would change his mind, or if they could become useful, for example by taking over the Carnazo City-State Alliance. Ainz Ooal Gown needs some helping hands and some people with experience on the ground, but for Arche, it's all over. Her body was completely utilized. Her skin, bones, and even her vocal cords were put to good use. Specifically, Entoma Vasilisa zeta received a new lip bug, an insect that, when fed with a vocal cord, can replicate the voice of the person whose vocal cord the lip bug was eating perfectly, giving Entoma a new voice that better suits her disguise as an innocent maid, and that she personally really likes. Ainz Ooal Gown gave his approval and assured Albedo that his voice, which Entoma would now use, the voice of Arche again, would also not bother him in the slightest. And again, for Entoma, this was seen as a very kind gesture. And there are other parts of Arche that were used as well. But since the Overlord movie will be released soon, and Arche will partially make an appearance, here's a short spoiler warning. It involved Arche's head. This is the part that makes an appearance, which is used by a demon to cast spells that Arche could use during her lifetime. And as a 3rd-tier magic caster, Arche was extremely powerful by the standards of the New World, making her an ideal opponent for Shizo Delta and Nea Baraya. Strong enough to pose a challenge, but not so strong that it would be overwhelming. And that's it for today. And now it's your turn. What do you think about Arche's fate? What are your thoughts on her end and the fate of her captured teammates? And do you prefer Entoma's old or new voice? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you're typing, I want to say thank you very much for watching. Thanks to all of my Patreons for supporting this channel, and special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Bezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dan Pep, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch V. Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lofrazer, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Oh Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Zinukai, and Sonnegon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.